So the effect, there will be an effect, but I don't think it'll be as dramatic as people are thinking.
Not the issue.
As many of you know, I have come out and supported what the president did on this temporary pause. And let me explain to you why. All right? I serve on Homeland Security Committee in Congress. In our world,
how many terrorist attacks were done by people from these 7 states?
Let's hear it, please.
And we live in a very dangerous time in the world. The 7 countries that the temporary pause is on, the 7 countries that President Obama had designated as war-torn nations that don't have proper vetting procedures in place.
The other 3
We also don't have terrorists.
Let him speak.
If you interrupt again, you're going to be escorted out of here.
Again, I don't ask you to accept or adopt what I'm saying. I just want to explain to you what my reasonings are. So President Obama realized that these 7 nations don't have a proper vetting process on their end in country to process people, to be assured that the people who deserve to come to our country are actually who they're purporting themselves to be. In Syria right now, there's about 250,000 Syrian passports that have been stolen, blank ones. The Syrian government, as a way to generate revenue, sells credentials to people, whoever has the money. And our enemy, ISIS, has told us that they are going to compromise the Syrian refugee program and put their sympathizers and agents in with the refugees, and the United States won't be able to tell who's who. Before my committee on Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, who's a personal friend of mine, he was Barack Obama's Secretary of Homeland Security, and FBI Director Jim Comey testified before my committee and said the vetting process that we have in place now is not one that will assure the safety of our nation. So I believed when this executive order came down that it is a pause, and what the president had asked is to give his Secretary of State and his Secretary of Homeland Security an opportunity to develop a vetting process so that we could assure that the people who deserve to come into our country are who they are presenting themselves to be. Now, besides our national security, America has always been a compassionate nation. And we are all immigrants. My father's family came from Ireland. My mother's family came from Poland. Some of us are first-generation immigrants. Some of us are fifth-generation immigrants. But our whole nation was built on immigration. And our forefathers were so smart, as Hakeem was saying before, that some of the people that created our country came here because they were fleeing religious persecution. Our forefathers were so smart, they didn't put freedom of religion in the 24th Amendment or the 16th Amendment, they put it in the first. Because that's how important it is. It's the foundation of our nation. So this pause is an inconvenience. I'm old enough to remember.
It's a ban, and people were unsafe in your district.
People are dying. That's not an inconvenience. People are dying.
This pause inconveniences families, keeps them apart. I remember a time when all of us could walk onto an airplane before without having to stand on line for 3 hours at TSA. The world has changed. And there are exceptions to the ban. If someone needs to get in our country for a reason, the president has allowed the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Homeland Security on a case-by-case exception basis to make an exception to see if people deserve to get in the country.
Only under duress.
During the time the ban is in place. So I believe our nation ought to be safe. I believe we have to let the experts, one of which I am not, on how to vet people to make sure that's not a stolen passport or the papers that they have. Because when the Syrians ran from their aggressors, when they ran for their government who was killing them, and they ran from terrorists who were slaying them, they didn't go back home to get their documents. They fled their homes. And so the compassion of the United States could still be expressed to the Syrian people by allowing them to go to safe havens in the region. Because when that conflict is over, and hopefully, God willing, it'll be over soon, it's going to be the Syrian people who build their country up. That's their home. They want to go back. We just have to make it safer. So that's just my position. Again, I'm not asking you to adopt it or accept it, but that was the reasoning behind why I come out in support of this temporary ban.
Bay Ridge is home to the largest number of Arabs and Muslims. What do you say to your constituents in Bay Ridge? Bay Ridge, I'm leaving. Bay Ridge Brooklyn does not support